Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us here today. We are AWID, and we are here to promote gender equality today. AWID is an international feminist organization fighting for gender equality and women's rights. And so I think it's good that we are here today because we are going to talk about very important and fundamental subject. So I guess all of you know this Bull statue. It's here in Wall Street, New York City for more than 30 years now. And it represents financial markets growth. And for only very few weeks ago now there is this new little girl statue that faced the bull. And it's here to promote gender equality. At the beginning it was a 1 week temporary statue, and now we know that the statue will stay here for more than 1 year. So today we're going to talk about sexual violence with Charlie, about women's rights to education with Danny, about female employment with Henry, and regulations promoting gender equality with Jason, and Dominic will conclude with this important topic. So thank you for listening, and let's welcome Charlie for sexual violence.
Hi everyone, and I'll talk about the sexual violence. Talk about sexual violence, and the machine is broken now, and sexual violence. I think there are three parts about sexual violence. First is domestic violence. It is very normal. We will see on news or TV, and next is social status. Maybe some company may not let girl be the important job like president and manager. And second, and the third, I think there's tradition about that. Some places is still patriarchal, so they take boy very care and don't mind girl what happened. And I'll talk about the news about this girl. Her name is Asia, and she escaped from her relative abuse and be cashed back, and she was sent to the courts, and the judge punished her for cut her nose down. And there is a picture she look like now, but some women still abused by some women still face the sexual violence nowadays. And I work on Danny.
Hello everyone, I'm Danny, and today I'm going to introduce the female rights to education. So let's look at the background information for history of uneducated female. First, we have in Islamic country, female is only allowed to attend the informal class, while in Chinese history, we can have female only have the province of food binding, which not allow them to go on the education, and just ask them to stay home and educate their children. And people in Africa, of course, they have the lowest resource for education. So let's go on to the next. We can see the chart here. The female, this is a chart. You see the green part, which means it's lower than female lower education. That blue one is higher. Then the next one we will see about education in Africa. So we can see here it's higher than the world average. So next we can see the gender before 1960. Uneducated woman is over 50, and after 1970 is lower than 50. So before and after we can see the difference. So in AWID we think that female education is not just about the work for religious, it's also about work for politics. So we have the female former First Lady of United States, Michelle Obama, and Malala Yousafzai for education. So here we like to have you to hold your hand, whoever is next to you, your sister, your brother, and rest your hand and say, here we are promote education equality here. And next we have Henry to introduce the female employment. So let's welcome Henry.
I am Harry, and now I want to introduce you the female employment. And as you can see, the two graphs, you can see that both the female labor force and female employment rate grows years by years. Okay, and now let's explore some reasons that the rise of female employment. Okay, and the first one, and thanks to the development of technologies, and the female can do the same job as the male by just controlling machine and without getting weakness. And otherwise, and there are more and more kind of industries be founded. So more and more female jump into the workplace, go to work. And the second one is the change of family structure. And the family structure become loosened nowadays. So, and more people gradually gave up the traditional distribution of housework. So because the female go to work. And the next one is the popularization of education. And because more and more female accept higher education, and so they can be qualified to more jobs, such as professors, doctors, and lawyers, and more. Okay, and here are some famous female leaders in the world, and it shows that your abilities is more important than your gender. Okay, and there's still existing some problems in female employment. The first one is glass ceiling. Okay, and although this kind of phenomenon has decreased nowadays, but there are still some myths exist in people's mind. And the next one is gender wage gap. And as you can see in the graph, although the female wage keep growing, but there's always a gap between the male and female, and it is unfair and not reasonable. And now I want to pass my microphone to Jason.
And to improve women's health, the President signed the Affordable Care Act, which prevents from higher price focused on basis of sex, and combat violence against women to girls. President signed the third resolution and to protection for Native American women. And promote girls' education. The President and First Lady launched the Let Women Learn, and to prevent dropping out of the school. And to promote women's political and economic leadership. The President which supports the women's voices. And here's the Dominic.
Thank you, Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, as our previous distinguished representative has spoken before me, we can conclude that gender equality is already underway. However, no nation until now are in a position for which they may say that they have truly achieved gender equality. In 1997, when our previous United States Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was giving a speech in Beijing about gender equality, surprisingly, only less than 30% of the population were male. How are we supposed to solve gender equality, this kind of a general topic, when only half of the population is invited or feel comfortable talking about it? Please understand that gender inequality is not only a problem for women, but it is also a suppression for men's freedom. For the statistics in the United Kingdom for the last 20 years, suicide ranks first when it comes to the cause of death for men between age of 20 and 49. Many suffer mental illness and was unwilling to accept care or medical attention for fear that they would be seen less of a man. Boys have refused to feel sensitive and fear that they would be prescribed as women-like. So you see, gender inequality is not just a problem for women. it is also your problem as well. And here at AWID, we promote gender equality. We fight for women's rights and also men's rights for that matter. So please, we implore you to join us and speak up for the minority for the better tomorrow. Thank you.